What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk live here on DSM Media's Turf Talk YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, if you like the content, if you want to be involved in today's show, like my man D-Rab, make sure to support by smashing that subscribe button. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I am one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Week 15 is underway, man. 3 games on Saturday we're going to be talking about. Thursday night's debacle and firings we're going to be talking about. And then, of course, we'll get to our biggest storylines, our weekly pick'em segment, that and much more.
Sir.
But happy Sunday, man. Terry, happy football Sunday. I know it's been a little negativity around here in Philadelphia, man. Positivity for Terry and her Niners, but
absolutely.
We get a calm, relaxing Sunday, no Eagles to worry about, although the drama seems like it's continuing to stir as Jalen Hurts has been downgraded to questionable. It's not downgraded to, doubtful or anything. There I go. So good. We're going to have some live.
I was wondering, did we lose me or did we lose Dylan? So,
the Wi-Fi bar's up on my end, so I'm sure we're going to have a nice, smooth show this morning, man. But Scotty, happy Sunday, my man.
Happy Sunday to you, brother. And I do agree with what you mentioned there before it cut out for a second. It is nice, given the circumstances, to not have to worry about the Eagles today. We'll save that for the Monday. And getting started with the work week. That'll kind of keep me busy throughout that day without having to worry about it. But happy to just enjoy some Sunday football. We had a nice slate yesterday. Obviously, looking at yesterday's actions, the action that took place, there's a lot of implications for the playoffs and the playoff picture coming out of yesterday's action. So it'll be interesting to take a look at how that kind of affected everything. Terry, to answer this question, what do you think of the timing of the big play Slay surgery? It kind of makes sense. Like, they wanted to get him through the 49ers and the Cowboys, I guess. Like, if that was the goal, right? Get through that tough stretch with your number one corner healthy or on the field. It makes sense from that aspect, but at the same time, it's also like, why wait until 4 weeks out from the playoffs? So I don't know. There's two sides to be seen. It's hard to know what was actually wrong with the knee. They kept it under wraps for the entire season. Basically, we've just seen a couple of questionable statuses. I don't really know how to feel or think about it. Like, honestly, I guess it's not my place. I'm not a doctor, but
not at all.
So it's a little weird is what I would say. That's the best way for me to describe it. It's a little weird.
I think it's weird. I've seen some fans kind of speculate on Twitter and social media that, very interesting timing that he continues to talk I on his podcast and, talking about the trash can picture, which is all good and fun, but then backs it up with his own personal stats while the team's getting pummeled. And some people were like, but the difference is this isn't like the Eagles came out and put him on the injury report this week out of the blue, and he's just going to miss this game, right? He's having, what is it? Some kind of arthroscopic
knee surgery. That's all they said. They didn't say what the injury was. They said he'd be out multiple weeks.
Exactly. So that's where the odd timing correlation doesn't play for me there, because that's not a punishment, right? It's not like there was this background thing going on there, like, you're not playing this week or whatever. It's
right. Vontae Maddox opened up his practice window, though. That's good news.
That's huge. It's absolutely huge news for this team moving forward in that secondary help. But there were some games that took place on Saturday, Scotty. There's also a game that took place on Thursday night. I don't even know if I want to call that a game. We can call that a thumping. We can call that a thrashing. I'm not going to lie to you. I was not tuned in to said game because I was not interested in Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick. But it turns out Aiden O'Connell is capable of leading an NFL offense to over 60 points. Brandon Staley, the GM, just a lot of the coaching staff, management, relieved of their duties, fired the following day on Friday afternoon. A surprise to absolutely no one. I'm
Honestly,
surprised.
it took too long.
It took way too long. I'm honestly
Yeah.
surprised that he was not relieved of his duties in the locker room at halftime, on Thursday night, because that is just inexcusable. The main takeaway, the LA Chargers 1,110% quit on their head coach and their team. That was just an absolute piss poor showing. Dude, you're talking about a team, and I know Justin Herbert is done for the year, but even before that, man, they were 3 games under 500 with him all year. It's really the first year we've seen Keenan Allen stay healthy most of the season. Yeah. Austin Eckler's been healthy most of the season, and they could just never put it together. And it felt like all of our conversations, yes, we have question marks about Justin Herbert winning big games or doing enough at the end of the game, but the talent's there. The question always comes back to the head coach. And when you have that starting, not for a couple games, Scotty, not for this season, since he was legitimately hired in LA, Brandon Staley has seemed to have been a question mark after each and every one of their losses. And then when that happens and you get beat down the way you do on Thursday Night Football, against a third-string quarterback, basically, you're done. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I completely agree. As you mentioned, I think it took a little too long for this to happen. Brandon Staley, while, Herbert has struggled in big moments at times, you do have to ask yourself, what type of situations is he being put in week to week by his head coach, by an incompetent offensive scheme? And that's just what it comes down to. When you have all of those weapons, you have an arm talent like Herbert, regardless of if he's a mental midget, whatever the case may be, right? Like, regardless of all the mental aspects that go into Justin Herbert's game, you have to ask yourself, with all of those weapons, with a running back like Austin Eckler, why can't you get an offense going consistently? That's weird. The defense obviously has its issues. They gave up 63 points to Aiden O'Connell, so that's a whole other conversation. But that's supposed to be Brandon Staley's, calling card, right? Defense and making that come together. Ultimately, right time for this to happen. It's about time. You need to find out what you have in Justin Herbert. You need to find out what you have in everybody else. Like, it's not just Justin Herbert that this team is about. There's other guys on this team also that you need to figure out who they are without Brandon Staley. The interesting part for me, the surprising part, they let the GM go as well. So the GM and the head coaching partnership is out the door. They're going with a completely new regime. And I can't say I disagree with that either, although we've seen bounce backs from GMs, specifically here in Philadelphia, by Howie Roseman. But it's just not typical that you see something like that play out, and it's not typical the relationship goes from GM to owner rather than GM and coach that they bring in themselves to go under them. So it made sense to get those guys out of there and clear house. But you mentioned Aiden O'Connell, man. 4 touchdowns in this game, 248 yards. You had Jacoby Myers throw a touchdown in here as well. So 5 passing touchdowns total. They did whatever they wanted that night.
One of the cleanest pick sixes ever. Honestly, listen, for such a shitty game on paper, and again, I was not tuned into this one. It had some highlights, man. It had some.
It did, it did.
Come out of there and tell.
You had some monster games mixed in there. I mean, Palmer for the Chargers, he had a monster game, even though they got blown out. Even Easton Stick, I mean, they get blown out, but 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 257 yards. So this was just like a open field, offensive practice for both teams.
Easton Stick also, though, had a pick. His interception was a pick 6. And he also was strip sacked, returned for a touchdown as well.
That's fair. That's fair. So
he gave up 14 points just on his own. So that was pretty interesting to watch. Anyway, Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell turned out to be a point fest on Thursday Night Football. Never would have expected that. There were a couple point fests yesterday, man. All 3 games fairly high scoring, right? Let's start in Cincinnati. The Bengals beat the Vikings. Jake Browning, man, 8-6. Cincinnati is 8-6. Scotty, they are right back in the thick of things to make a wild card in the AFC. where do you my thing is I always try to relate as a fan, and as exciting as it is, and you're continuing to round off wins. Where would you sit as a Bengal fan? You have all this talent, Jamar Chase, but he got injured yesterday, I believe.
Yeah,
He's now
hurt
so
his
Jamar
shoulder.
Chase goes down. You don't know what plays there. Higgins has been banged up, but you have all this talent. The defense has been together for a little while now. Where do you sit if you're a Bengals fan? Like knowing that yes, you can make the playoffs, but what's the excitement level?
Yeah, I think you have to be relatively excited just to be in this position because of the last few years. You probably have built pressure on
Yeah.
yourselves where this situation, if the Bengals can get in, there's just no pressure on them. They don't have Joe Burrow. They have a ton of guys that are beat up going into the postseason right now. And I will tell you, man, watching that game, this is one of the games that I actually sat down and watched like the entire game yesterday. The Steelers Colts, I saw about, half to 3/4 of that. I saw probably a half of the Lions Broncos. But I watched this entire game, and I will say, man, Jake Browning, he's impressive. Like, honestly, he's impressive. He makes plays. He can use his legs. Yeah, man. I mean, 324 yards. He was clutch down the stretch in this game, making big time throws, getting it to T. Higgins, and just giving T. Higgins a shot, right? You have all that talent on offense.
Yeah.
All you have to do sometimes is just give him a shot to make a play. And he did. He did that twice yesterday with T. Higgins, came up big. Joe Mixon's been sturdy. They've been able to get the run game going. Mike Hilton on the defensive side of things is a monster, man. He's one of the best like DBs in the NFL. I'm convinced. Like he just made play after play yesterday. Yeah, I would be fairly excited just because you're not the only team that is in the running to get into the postseason in the AFC with a backup quarterback. So like if you just get in, you know that you have better talent than most of these other teams with the backup quarterback.
And Scotty, the AFC is so wide open, man. When you think about the fact that the Bills, yes, although we might think they're peaking at the right time right now, they made the OC switch. Josh Allen's playing better. They're sitting there just above 500, the same kind of boat you're in. Like if you're them, you look at the top of the AFC. You look at a team like Jacksonville. You look at a team, like Kansas City right now, who is a loss away from having the same record as you. And has all these issues in their wide receiver room. I know it's Jake Browning versus Patrick Mahomes, but you take the rest of these two teams, and you probably are giving the edge to the Cincinnati Bengals, at least on offense, right?
On offense, so
You look at it from that perspective. I mean, Baltimore, right? Baltimore is the team, but I mean, it's a division rival. Those teams know each other so well. If they were to meet in the postseason, it's going to be a collision, right?
Yeah, so sketchy. Yeah. The fact that Browning is putting up these type of numbers, this is like 3 straight games with like 300 passing yards, multiple passing touchdowns. Like if he's able to do this against, mind you, the Vikings defense, while we really haven't talked about them much on this show just because the Vikings are what they are right now, they're a middle of the pack team. Their defense has been playing really, really well. They're one of the lowest scoring. They give up the least amount of touchdowns in the NFL. And for Jake Browning to lead this team out here, score 27, go 300.
Especially when the Vikings are fighting for a wild card spot, just like you are, right? It's not like it's not like they're the Chargers sitting at 4-8 or the Titans 4. No, it's a team fighting for positioning and seeding, just like you in their own conference. So you got a good defense's best yesterday. Is my point.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
See him, and like you said, to see him clutch up down the stretch and lead them to a field goal and ultimately win that game, that's the biggest thing for me as well, man. Like you mentioned making big throws. The first drive of the game, I actually caught the beginning of it while I was out, and he dropped one right in the bucket to Jamar Chase. He was being like bracketed down the sideline, and literally just dropped right here. Chase got the feet down. That's a big time throw, bro. They go down, get 3 points on the first possession.
That was probably the best one of the game. Yeah, that was probably his best throw in that game, and I do agree. That was spectacular. I know exactly what you're talking about, man. That team. I mean, that team is interesting coming out of that game yesterday.
You know what else? You know what other team is interesting? The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Maybe the opposite of interesting.
Stick a fork in them. Throw them in the oven. They're done. They are done. The Pittsburgh Steelers a few short weeks ago sat here as a 7-4 team on a fresh new offensive coordinator, which everyone and their mother in the Pittsburgh area thought was the problem. Yes, I know they're playing with their backup quarterback right now. I'm here to tell you it does not matter. Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, it doesn't matter who's lining up on their center for this team. This offense is anemic to scoring points. None of the quarterbacks are good enough to get the job done. You sat here at 7-4 and watched Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals. You watched a 2-8 New England Patriots team come into town, and you lost back-to-back weeks. And now I sit here on Thursday as we're making our picks. I look at that defense. I look at Gardner Minshew across the way, and I say, no, not today. Pittsburgh's defense, Mike Tomlin, they win as underdogs. They're going to get the job done. And you get punked on both sides of the ball. 13 points, never going to be good enough against anybody in this league. And your defense gave up 30, man. And before the show, you were talking about our Eagles offense from last year and 2 years ago with Shane Steichen and their ability to run the ball, get the ball back with 6-7 minutes left, and you never even touch it again. This wasn't necessary in this one because it was a 17-point game. Yeah. But at the end of the game, fourth quarter, Shane Steichen put their offensive line's hands in the ground, get downhill, and ran the ball down the Steelers' throat, and they couldn't do a damn thing about it.
It was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy to watch the Steelers just get moved down the field, run. Just the ball ran straight down their throat. I mean, there was a drive, I think it was the third to last drive for the Colts, where they ran the ball 12 straight times on the drive. There was not one pass attempted, I think, until maybe the last play of the drive on third down. They end up kicking a field goal, which, mind you, you're just looking to increase the lead at that point. And it was just that signature drive that we've been asking for this entire season from the Eagles, right? It's something that we have been wondering where it's gone, and obviously it's traveled right on over to Indianapolis. But man, they looked that's the other side of the combo, right? The Steelers look so bad, obviously on both sides, and I think the offensive inefficiencies are starting to wear down that defense. They're starting to fall apart a little bit there in Pittsburgh on the defensive side of things. And that's why you see the Colts able to do what they did yesterday. Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor go down in that game yesterday. The Colts are working with Trey Sermon and Goodson. I can't even remember his first name. They both went off in this game down the stretch. And Minshew, he's just been solid, man. He gets his receivers killed. I will tell you that. I mean, there was probably 3 guys yesterday that he threw them into getting their head knocked off, including Michael Pittman, who went out of the game with a concussion. But he did play really well, 18 for 28, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns, just doing his job, right? And Colts come away with a victory there, and they're now at the forefront of that playoff, the playoff chances ahead of the Steelers, and knock one more down the totem pole, right? But yeah, I would say the Steelers are done, and they have some major decisions to make at the end of the season. I mean, Mike Tomlin, I'm not sitting here calling for him to get fired. It's something that you have to think about with the just the how middle of the pack and how average they have been for however many years now since Big Ben, and even through those last few years with Big Ben, how, just average. You're kind of middle of the pack, 100%. Just dwindling there with a good to great defense and a really piss poor offense. And it just, something's got to change there, man.
And the issue is he's kind of been applauded for it, right? Because he hasn't had a losing season. Remember that whole story for year after year? They'd be, 9-7 or 8-8. And Mike Tomlin, no matter who he never has a losing season. And that kind of becomes the norm then. And when you let that become the norm, just being middle of the pack, just being 500, being average, that kind of sets in, right? And that's a culture you don't want there. But you're right. I mean, Scotty, they have a Super Bowl caliber defense. Let's be honest. They probably have had it for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
They have maybe the best football player in the entire league on that side of the ball. It's just whatever the issue is on offense, right? You change things up at OC. Now maybe this OC is not it either. I don't believe I think it was their quarterback coach. So maybe he's never called plays at this level. Maybe he's not good enough yet. The quarterback obviously being injured and even their starter not good enough. But you said bad attitudes. Najee Harris, man, since he's come into the league, his rookie year he was great. Yeah. Just seems slow and easy to get to the ground every other time he touches the ball. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, two talented receivers.
Very talented.
Both have attitude problems in different directions. Deontay Johnson seems like a quitter, bro. He just gives up on plays, doesn't block, doesn't play for his teammates. Meanwhile, George Pickens has like this huge ego issue.
Yeah.
And just taunts all the time.
Talking about not getting the ball, bro. Like nobody on your offense is getting the fucking football. So let's acknowledge that first and stop making it about yourself, right? Like
and that's
nobody on the offense is getting like out targeted or out targeting George Pickens. So yeah, man, there's just a lot of issues in house.
I agree, D-Rab. Mike Tomlin could go down as one of the greatest coaches to ever do it in this league, man. But it is a what have you done for me lately
one of those
business.
Andy Reid in Philadelphia situations, man. Look at what they're saying about Bill Belichick. Now, Tomlin hasn't hit a low like the Patriots are hitting this season, to be fair. But there's just these moments throughout a time when you have these relationships with these coaches that have been here for so long.
But to be fair,
maybe it's not time, though.
Who has a ton more to work with?
What'd you say?
I said, to be fair, though, Tomlin hasn't hit that low like Bill has, 3-8 or whatever. Yeah. But who has more to work with?
Yeah,
Tomlin, even though his offense is anemic, Tomlin's got 1,000 more talent. But Bill does play GM for them as well. So,
See, and this is the funny part with the Steelers. This is where it becomes malpractice because you do have guys like Jake Browning. You even have a guy like Nick Mullins on the opposite side of Jake Browning yesterday who went 252 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He threw 2 interceptions, but that's better than Mitchell Trubisky. And that is a problem. That's a malpractice.
Joe Flacco's doing in Cleveland right now, coming off his couch.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, man. Like, that's the malpractice where Jake Browning could step onto this Pittsburgh Steelers roster, become the starting quarterback, and lead them to the playoffs. Yeah. That's malpractice.
It's the same thing.
That's how good the surrounding cast is outside the quarterback.
Yeah. There's too many teams that, are just built on one side of the ball. The Jets and the Steelers, both heavily built on defense. Both have Super Bowl caliber defenses.
Same thing, man.
And they have talent on offense. They have a Garrett Wilson, a Breece Hall. You have a George Pickens, and they never seem to put it together.
Speaking of the Jets, man. Are they really going to send this man Aaron Rodgers back out on the field next week? Or in the next couple weeks? Is that not crazy?
There's just no way you could do it. It's just no
they opened the practice with that is insane to me, man.
There's no way you allow that to happen.
It's stupid.
Listen,
why?
It's cool on Aaron that if you're physically capable to do it, it's probably something to him where, how you've seen him on the Pat McAfee show and everything.
That. Yeah,
there's been people that are saying he didn't really tear his Achilles and he fires back at them and blah blah blah. Aaron seems like a guy who would just want to come out and play one drive and show that he was able to come back in this quick a time period. But it is stupid. They're nowhere near playoff contention. They're not going to get into the postseason. So. With that said, that would just be completely asinine, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. Another set of news, just because I just checked my phone and saw the Eagles have put Matt Patricia in charge of defensive play calling this week versus Seattle. Sean Desai goes to the coaching box. Big change. So basically, what that sounds like to me is that Sean Desai is being removed from defensive coordinator and Matt Patricia is being put in defensive coordinator role. Might not be the case. Maybe they're just getting more advisement from Patricia. But if Sean Desai is going up to the box, Matt Patricia's coming down to the field. What does that say? That's crazy, though. That speaks to what's happening in-house there, man.
Oh, man.
Drama.
Yeah, that's the issue, Scotty. It could turn out to it could be a good thing, right? A change of scenery. Desai gets a different look. We don't even like Desai, so whatever. But of all weeks, we're doing this the week that we're even more beat up on defense.
Right.
Darius Slay out. Man, we broke down the
everything
Niners,
but firing Desai, basically.
Yeah, we're going. All right, this is going to be a huge topic tomorrow morning on the Faithful Fanatic Show, so I don't want to get too much into it. But what I will say is, we broke down the Niners beat down, we broke down the Cowboys beat down, and you sit here and after you calm down and take a deep breath, you say 10-3, control your own destiny. MVP caliber quarterback, they can still get the job done. And it just seems like over the last 3 or 4 days, so much is unraveling, leaks and reports. First, you have the Derek Gunn report. A.J. Brown says it wasn't him. A report comes out yesterday that Kevin Byard took a plan to them to let the players do their scouting report. Kevin Byard quote tweets it and says, no, it was something else. Now you have this news. Slay, surgery. Jalen, sick. We might be going with Marcus Mariota. Let me say this. Great teams don't have these issues. And I know some of it's injuries and an illness, so they have those issues. But all of this, the leaking of information, defensive coordinator changes, offensive coordinator issues, Super Bowl teams don't have these issues, Scotty.
It doesn't give you more confidence. Hearing that Matt Patricia, great, it maybe changes something. Hopefully he can improve but it doesn't bring you more confidence, right? If anything, I'm less confident now because it just seems like we have to try new things because we don't know what we're doing currently.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what it is? It feels desperate.
Yeah.
It feels like a desperation move to try to salvage what we can do. And maybe it works. Hey, maybe Desai up there to help and see it differently. Patricia may be stronger suited to call the plays. Maybe it turns the fucking season around and I look stupid. But I'm telling you, it's not a good look right now.
Yeah, and I think the other side, obviously, last thing I'll say about it, right? We'll talk about it on the morning show tomorrow. But when you look at it, it's like the Eagles didn't have to even announce this. You know what I mean? This isn't even stuff that needs to be put out to the public. They could just do that. So that's where it alarms me. Like you said, everything that's being leaked out, the anonymous source about the offensive schemes and the routes that the wide receivers are running on offense. This is not a good look. That's something that you could do without really letting anybody know. Sean Desai could stay on the sidelines with Matt Patricia there right beside him, and they could figure it out together for all. But the fact that they're moving Sean Desai up to the box, I don't know if there's a limitation on who you can have personnel coaching, coaches on the sidelines.
Listen,
Matt Patricia's one over the limit, so you have to send Sean Desai. I don't know if that's the case.
I will say
that doesn't make sense.
We would be hypocrites if we acted like this was normal, because when Matt Canada was calling the plays from the box in Pittsburgh, and then the last 2 or so weeks he came down on the field and they're making this change, and then he ends up getting fired, and Pittsburgh, goes from 7-4 to 7-7. Now, 2 different teams. One went to a Super Bowl last year. One has Mitch Trubisky playing quarterback. I understand that. It's not normal, okay? And again, I'm going to knock on wood there. I'm going to sit back, have a relaxing Sunday. I'm going to watch how tomorrow unfolds. And maybe Matt Patricia changes the play calling, changes the, more, whatever. More of what we wanted to see. Maybe he brings that to the table. Maybe the Eagles defense turns it around over the final 4 weeks, and we're confident heading in the postseason. But it's not a good look. We'll talk about that more tomorrow morning on the Faithful Fanatic Show, Scotty. We got about 15, 20 minutes to go here, man. So real quick, there was one more game last night. Denver beat down in Detroit, man. My last takeaway from all of this to combine the games is, do you remember earlier in the year, we were talking about those B-tier teams that you couldn't really buy into? Jacksonville, Detroit, the Cowboys, but they'd win a game and you go, okay, this is who they are, and then they lose a bad game. And it's like they're polling each week.
Yeah, in each direction.
Same thing with these playoff caliber teams, man. These 7-6 teams yesterday. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have the Denver Broncos, and you have the Minnesota Vikings all fighting for their respective wild cards in their conferences. All lose. The Vikings lose to a backup quarterback. The Steelers give up 30 to Gardner Minshew. And the Broncos, who we thought for a split second,
man,
could continue to play well, their defense gets absolutely shredded versus Jared Goff and company. These teams, man, just put them on the back burner in terms of playoff seeding and what we think.
Yeah, the weird thing with the Broncos, I will say, if they won out and the Chiefs magically lost another game, there is a chance. But like you said, you got to take advantage of the opportunities in front of you. And simply put, the Broncos did not do that last night. I mean, you put up 17 points. The problem is you give up 42, right? We thought that this defense was coming alive after that 70-point outing against Miami. We thought they were coming back to normal because they're supposed to be a top 10-esque unit. But, obviously in this game, the Lions came out. They came out with a purpose. Give a little bit of credit to them. They came out with a purpose to bounce back yesterday and put up some points. Obviously, Jared Goff, 5 touchdowns, had basically a perfect game yesterday. Laporta, man, three receiving touchdowns. He's up to 9 on the season. The most rookie touchdowns ever in Lions history. So you're talking about the likes of like Calvin Johnson mixed in there, right? And so big feat for him. Lions bounce back, but you talk about, pulling you in one way or the other. What is this Lions team? They lose to the Packers, They lose to the Bears. Then they go out and blow out a Broncos team that's only lost like one game in their last 8. So it's hard to see what the Lions really are. Obviously, they have an explosive offense, but what really is that defense? They hold the Broncos to 17 last night, but other weeks we've seen them get completely exposed. So it's interesting. But yeah, let's get to our picks, man.
Weekly pick'ems. Last 10 minutes here on the show. Scotty, I believe it's your pick first this week in the draft.
Gotcha. So I'll go quick off the top here. I am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New England Patriots. They are 9.5-point favorites. Chiefs, they need a win, right? Like, and it's against the Patriots that, luckily for the Chiefs, are not going to score a ton of points, especially against this Chiefs defense. But nonetheless, I am going to go with the Chiefs against the New England Patriots. Bounce back game for the Chiefs. They need to start winning games, man. They have 5 losses on the record, so they can't afford to lose.
They've lost 4 of their last 6. They've lost
4 of their last 6.
They have major issues going on right now. Patriots, like you said, 3-10. Regardless of the struggles that this Chiefs team is having, they're going to cover the spread. I wholeheartedly agree with you here. Give me the Niners as well. 10-3 versus 3-10 over the Cardinals.
I feel that.
They're probably going to beat Arizona by 22, but if not more. But yeah, give me that annoying team, Terry.
They're good. They got their maker coming next week against Baltimore, hopefully, right, for our 1 seed chances here in Philadelphia. But yeah, this week I agree. Niners going to take care of that, and I do expect them to cover the spread, right? Yeah, you mentioned the Chiefs. Along with that it's a Patrick Mahomes bounce back game too. Yeah. He needs to have a great game today. But my second pick, I am going to go with the Rams over the Commanders. The Rams, a team that is fighting for a playoff spot here as well. Now they dropped down to 6-7 last week with the loss to the Ravens. But they played the Ravens really tough.
Overtime, man. On the road, bad weather.
30-plus points on that Ravens defense. I expect them to have a field day here with the Commanders defense, that secondary, that pass defense. So
I agree. Matthew Stafford has a lot more left in the tank than we may have originally thought. Cooper Kupp being back, you have this kid just burst on the scene in Puka this year as a rookie.
Tyron
Williams, big punch out of the backfield. He missed a couple games, comes back, scores like 3 touchdowns in his first game back a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, no, they got things rolling, at least on the offensive end. And I think they're going to be a team that does make the playoffs in the NFC. For my second pick, give me the dog pound, man. Give me the Browns at home over the Bears in this one. You and I obviously are both, I believe both of us are laying the Browns money line in the 1 p.m. slate. I know it's Joe Flacco. I know they got some injuries on defense. Justin Fields and the Bears are not coming in to that stadium against that defense and winning this game. They're just not. The Bears have won a couple in a row. They've looked better. That's all well and good. Not today. The Browns are going to win.
And I do think in games like this with the Browns and the Bears, we have to start calculating in the factor that one team is playing for something significant and the other is just playing to build momentum, build chemistry. So one is playing for something a lot more important than the other. And I think that's what factors in for the Browns for me there as well. But I'm with you. That's a great pick there. Shout out to Troy if you're out there watching. I did lay a parlay. I'm tailing a parlay for my buddy Troy. And we need the over in that Browns Bears game as well as the over in the Dolphins and Jets game. So pray for me. It's 37. Pray for me. Nonetheless, with my third pick, this one's tough. I got two games I'm looking at here. I'm gonna lay some, blind faith in the Dolphins today, even without Tyreek Hill against those New York Jets. Once again, a team playing for something significant versus a team that is not. This is a divisional opponent, though, and we know how the Dolphins struggle without Tyreek Hill in the lineup. So I would be lying if I said I'm not worried about this pick, but I am going to go with the team that does need this game significantly more in the Miami Dolphins. Stay ahead in that division. The Bills are coming, man. So you gotta stay awake if you're Tua in Miami. So I'll go with Miami against the Jets today.
Man. I like it. Do you think they cover? Because that's an interesting. I think it's an 8 or 9 point spread.
It moved down to 7.
All right,
but
that's just from the Tyreek news.
Yeah, I still don't know if I would. If I'm not, I would not put my money on the spread. No. I wouldn't.
I'm not putting it on either side. I was just
I
think the Jets defense could keep that game a little closer.
I do too. I think if the Dolphins either way, I think it's an ugly game ultimately.
I agree.
But hopefully
we also in that game see how the Jets continue to treat Zach Wilson and play call for him because finally took the training wheels off for him last week and the kid was the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. So
and that's what gives me hope towards this total is that maybe the Jets can get something.
Maybe they score a little bit. Take the spread. I'm on the Browns, man. I'm on the Browns. I've got a weird little, betting strategy going on right now. I do not like currently betting on multiple games at once. I'm not a parlay guy anymore. I've learned from all my mistakes and one leg losses to stay away from parlays because one will lose. So now the other one of my pet peeves was winning a bet I loved, doing another bet just because I like it, but losing that and either losing or profiting like $5. So I was like, you know what? Let's focus on one game at a time in a time frame, and we'll go from there, man. So I got the Browns at 1:00 for anybody out there that wants to tail. For my pick here, you mentioned that division, man. Give me the Bills. Give me the Bills at home against Dallas. That's probably going to be my 4 o'clock.
That's my play at 4
as well. I think the Bills and Josh Allen are playing great football since making the change at offensive coordinator. Something, to go back to that Eagles conversation, that can give you a positive light. Maybe it's not gloom and doom like the Pittsburgh situation. Maybe it's a positive like the Bills situation, right?
At home. Yeah.
Josh Allen's playing great football. Coming off a big win against Kansas City in which they needed it at home. That Dallas team and Dak Prescott, they're not the same as they are in Jerry's world this year, man. Dak's playing at MVP level. They're flying high. I think Josh Allen is going to take that defense for a ride today. I really do.
I wonder what the weather is like out there in Buffalo today. That'll be interesting because it's pretty cold up north here. So, I like the pick. That as I mentioned, I am going to lay that Buffalo Bills money line at 4. So that will be the play of the evening, I guess, up until that Sunday night football matchup.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints against the New York Giants. They're 5.5-point favorites. The last time I looked,
cutlets, baby.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. This dude won NFC Player of the Week somehow last week, which is just ridiculous.
Threw for like 160 yards in one offense.
Yeah, like miss me with that, man. They were able to take care of who the Packers last week.
Packers.
Well. They are frauds, but it did show a side that New York Giants can win a game if they're given the opportunity. I don't think they'll be given the opportunity today. I think the New Orleans Saints will take care of business. This is a team, once again, playing for something, trying to win their division, trying to make the postseason. I will go with the Saints, who have been underachievers this year for my money, right?
No, I like the pick a lot, man. I was going to go there actually before the Bills pick, but I was like, I know the competition is stiffer, but I'd rather put my money on Josh Allen and the Bills than I would on
I
the
do
New
feel
Orleans
that. I really
situation.
do.
Even though the Cowboys are obviously much tougher competition than the New York Giants are in that one, man. You mentioned being frauds. Give me the road dog here. Give me Baker and the Bucks heading to Lambeau today, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Ultimately, I think the Bucks are going to win that NFC South division that's tied 3 ways at 6-7. I think by starting that run, they go on the road, get to 500, and they beat Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love has shown that he belongs in this league. I think Jordan Love is a much better starting quarterback than I thought he was going to be to start the year, but he's still showing that inconsistency, right?
Yeah.
To look as dominant as he looked against Kansas City, but then to turn around and turn the ball over and lose to Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants on primetime just shows the immaturity and inconsistency in their starting quarterback. I think Baker continues to get the job done. I think that defense still has Super Bowl pieces on it. Mike Evans, everybody else on that offense, give me the Bucks today.
I do like that pick as well. I'm rolling with the Bucks in that game.
Baker,
And I do agree, man. I think the Bucks are the team that presents the biggest threat out of that division. They obviously have, the weapons on the offensive side of things with Godwin, Evans, even Rashad White, who's come alive.
Cade
Otton. Yeah, he's looked pretty good at times. So, yeah, as long as Baker can just do his job, right? You heard Cam Newton talking about game managers. That's all they need Baker Mayfield to be for that team is a game manager. So I do like the pick. I'm going to go. I had to check really quick to see if CJ Stroud was playing. I'm going to go with the Titans -3 against the
Will Levis, baby.
Yeah, Will Levis. He looked great last week, man. Turned up on the Dolphins to take the Titans to a win. They also got Derrick Henry going in that game as well. Got him into the end zone, so that was good. The big thing for me though is the Houston Texans. They're just beat to hell and back. No CJ Stroud, maybe no Nico Collins, no Tank Dell. He's out for the season, so they're pretty beat up. Dameon Pierce has been beat up all season. I'm just not sure that their offense is going to be able to do enough today to win this game. So I am going to go with the Titans in that one.
I agree. I love that pick. This is 1,000% the correct take here. Baker Mayfield would be the guy to lose me money. That or the New Orleans Saints. That would be the team to lose to Tommy DeVito.
The NFC South, man. Can't trust them, that's for sure.
No, you cannot. And I'm glad you said that because that's the final game I have to pick from here. And I said that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to start their streak by winning today to lead them to an NFC South title. And that also happens by getting some help. And the 6-7 Atlanta Falcons will be giving up.
Dylan's a dirtbag.
A loss to the Carolina Panthers today. The Panthers will get their second win on the season at home, man.
I like it, man. I actually love it in a game where, obviously I've been talking about what means what to each team, but this is a divisional opponent. These are two teams that just are not good. But I do love the pick. Go out there on a limb, man, and win this thing. At the end of the day, I don't want to see the Falcons in the playoffs, so I'm hoping for a Carolina Panthers win as well. I'd much rather see the Saints or the Buccaneers in the postseason there. So I'm with you. I don't know who exactly I would actually pick in that game. I definitely wouldn't touch it with my money, but interesting games today. That ain't the one, but interesting games today.
He's got the Falcons, baby. 3 minutes to go, man, before we get out of here and get to kickoff. Guys, I see a couple of you in here, not in the comment section. So with that said, if you want to be involved in today's show or any of our shows, and you're new to the channel, you like the content, make sure to subscribe to the DSM Turf Talk YouTube channel, the Philadelphia YouTube channel, and the Scotty Talks NBA YouTube channel for all your NBA content. Sunday night football, 2 AFC contenders, Jags home versus the Ravens. The Ravens have been a lot more trustworthy than Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars have this year.
Absolutely.
But in terms of picking this game, Lamar Jackson as a road favorite on Sunday Night Football, something tells me that's not a good sound. the bells aren't ringing, right? I'm not liking that.
Something's off.
I think the Jags are going to win this game, man. And I think they're going to win it just to fuck with us, just to confuse what the AFC is supposed to look like. Because just when you think the Chiefs are stepping down and the Bengals are hurt and the Bills are 7-6 and you're looking for a team, the Ravens 10-3, number one seed, they can run away with it. Just when you think they're pulling away, the Jags are going to come away with a win, man.
Yeah, no, I actually do like it. I'm not sure if the Jags really will pull it off, but if I had to lean one way or the other, I am kind of feeling the Jags. And let me just set the scene again here, right? You have the Ravens visiting the Jags tonight. The Jags have lost a game or two in the past couple weeks, right? To drop to 8-5. They're now in a highly contested division battle with the Colts, right? Nonetheless, they need this W, right? At home. But I also think the Ravens are due for a loss. They had a tightly contested game against the Rams last week at home against those LA Rams. And this week you have a big matchup in conference with the Jags. And like you said, it would just offset everything that's taken place these last few weeks as the Ravens kind of rising up to the top of the AFC. But you also have a big matchup next week with the San Francisco 49ers. So just to set the scene
and that's the one I would prefer they win a little bit more.
Yeah, lose this one for the bounce back game against the Niners next week. That's my agenda. That's my narrative on the situation.
Push that narrative, bro.
So yeah, let's go Jags. Put some fuel in the tank for the Ravens. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
And when Marcus Mariota walks into the 12th man tomorrow and takes the lead back in the NFC East.
Oh, God. Maybe pray.
Can't wait to have our quarterback controversy conversation.
Oh, my God.
With
that Jalen Hurts plays, man. That's what I need. I need that for my sanity.
With that said, let's go enjoy about 12 hours of commercial-free football.
Should be fun.
Let's go sit back, relax. Kickoff starting just about now. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, guys, make sure to smash that subscribe button, turn on notifications for whenever we post a video or go live here on the channel. We will be live tomorrow morning, between 9 and 10 a.m. on the DSM Philadelphia YouTube channel for the Faithful Fanatic Show, talking Eagles Seahawks, talking the DC change, talking Jalen Hurts, and I think the Sixers keep winning. So we're probably going to talk about them and Joel Embiid a little bit more as well, man. But everybody else, have a great rest of your Sunday and go Birds.
Go Bills. Say.